Funerals actually take a lot more planning than I expected. With us using island cuisine for the first time, of course we were iffy, but once they came and showed us their service, their food, we tasted their food and everything, we definitely use them again because their service and food is just awesome.
I'll ride with the horses, I'll swim through the sea, I'll climb to the mountain tops, won't you come follow me? I'll take time to notice all that I see, and after I've come so far, you know where I'll be. I'll fly away, fly away, fly away, fly away home. I'll fly away, fly away, fly away, fly away home. But life is a vision, that's how it should be. The world is a canvas, and the choices are free. At the end of the journey, where all is complete, they'll all wonder where I've gone, but you know where I'll be. I'll fly away, fly away, fly away, fly away home. I'll fly away, fly away, fly away, fly away home. Our dreams last forever, for all that we know. The roads come together, and that's where we'll go.
The pompous
and elite wish we go away.
because we are
real and direct.
no interest owns us.
And we have no interest but the truth.
Together we are exposing.
Corruption.
Together we will reform criminal justice
Together.
We are fighting violence
against women and children.
We here at
Kandit
will shine the light
on every corner of darkness.
Together, we are giving a voice
To the voiceless.
and forgotten.
Together.
Together,
Together.
together,
Together. We are giving a voice to the voiceless and forgotten.
We are Kandit News Group.
morning, Candid Land and everybody. I'm Johnny Rosario,
I'm Troy Torres.
and this is Dominic Hernandez.
Off the day, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so Dominic is not used to public speaking, right? Or all of this interview stuff.
Getting used to it.
You're getting used to it. He's a Republican candidate for senator, and I met him online from The Informant, right?
Yes.
And we can talk a little bit about that. But I also met you while I was when I was a little thinner, when I was running in Tuman.
Yes, I remember that. I saw you running around, and then I believe you signed my petition that
Yes,
day?
I signed your petition.
Yes.
I believe it was the first petition I signed. It was, I signed it because he just seemed like a genuine guy. And so the problem that we have on Guam when it comes to electing people is that we get so mesmerized by the characters and our natural tendency to be pretentious about things leads us to vote for people who we recognize their names. We met them and they're a senator, so they have this star power over us. And no matter what bad thing that they did that we know we read in the news or whatever, that we understand that they did bad, when it comes to election day, because we shook their hand at a funeral and they seem to be nice, we're going to vote for them. Or because they say the fanciest things and they're the most articulate people, we're gonna vote for them. And then we tend to be critical of the newer candidates, the ones who, when you really think about it, logically represent the change that we have been desiring.
We so desperately need.
It's been a year and a half of a lot of people complaining about the Guam legislature and the administration and how they have done nothing, or they've done things to hurt the community, or they tried to do things to hurt the community, and it took a whole lot of emotional distress in order for people to come forward and say, no, don't do that. And it was only through public pressure did certain of these powerful people back down from what they were trying to do. So, when the reason we're bringing new candidates in is because we want to show you that there are these options that you have against the people who've been putting us down this whole time. And we're glad to have you, Dominic.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
On Sunday, we have Democratic Party Chairwoman Sarah Thomas Nederdog. On Monday, we have Republican senatorial candidate Sandra Regis Sale, who's actually in studio with us right now. She's hanging out with Eric at the producer's desk. They just came from waving this morning, right?
Yes, we did. Down at the Dedado area near the Micro Mall.
How do you like the waving thing?
It's actually fun. I enjoy it.
Yeah?
I mean...
You get a lot of honkers?
We do, and, I love the part where, people are just yelling random things at us.
Okay.
It pumps me up. It gets me excited.
How are you seen with your sandwich board if Joanne Brown is next to you? Because she's a very imposing...
Don't answer that. Leave it to Troy. So man, this COVID really got me, huh?
Why?
Look at me.
You're fine, Chalo. I got you guys chili.
Yeah, I don't want it. I don't want to eat.
You don't want to eat?
Yeah, I'm going on a fasting.
It smells really good, actually.
It does, and it's killing me right now.
You're fasting now?
Yeah, right now.
Okay, I'm gonna eat.
I'm only gonna drink coffee. Yeah.
With the lady at 76 gave me the Tabasco with it. This is Chalaquiles Coffee and Change with Kandit News. Meet the candidates. They didn't have Chalaquiles this morning. Well, it was still being made. So this is chili. It's really good. I haven't had it in a while, but I know that sounded kind of wrong. And then I don't know if that's, I don't know if that's the highly caffeinated coffee or if this is the 100% Colombian rainforest, Colombian terraza or something rainforest. Anyway, tell us about who you are before we ask you why are you running for senator. So what's your background? Who are you?
Well, first off, I'm Dominic J. Hernandez. I was born here in Guam. My dad was, stepfather, I call him my dad because he raised me.
Okay.
He was in the Air Force
Okay.
for 20 plus years, so we lived kind of all over the world, England, New Jersey.
Oh, wow.
And I ended up graduating in high school in New Jersey, joining the Marines for 4 years, 2006 to 2010. After that, I moved over to Oregon.
Oh, you're a Marine?
Yes.
Okay.
Worked out in Oregon for about roughly a year, and then ended up coming back to Guam in 2011.
Okay.
And then from there, I was just been a common citizen, really. I worked at the Nancy Security for a while. Tried doing my own business in lawn care, janitorial, and auto detailing.
Okay.
Some people might have remembered it. It was called Malik Auto Detailing back in the day.
Okay.
And my business partner at the time, he was in the military, so he ended up getting stationed in North Carolina. And from there, it's kind of difficult to keep the business going, especially with him at such a far distance. So we went ahead and just got rid of everything, and I've been working at Men's Karaoke Bar ever since.
Okay. So why are you running for senator?
Well, first, I just got frustrated with everything. I mean, I guess it started before the crisis. Like, I noticed I was kind of questioning why certain things are being done a certain way. I remember reading in the newspapers that, you know, you have directors or assistant directors. Some of them are getting paid more than the governor herself. And I'm kind of like, that doesn't quite make sense to me. And from there, it kind of escalated after the crisis when that kind of showed everybody's true colors. And that's...
What do you mean by that?
Well, what I mean by that is like, perfect example, and some of the incumbents have even said it, like Moylan. You know, within the first week or two, the crisis began. It's like, where were the senators? I remember reaching out to some of them, asking them, you know, hey, what's your guys' plan? What's going on? And at that time, the only two people in office that responded was MSN and Moylan. They're the only two that really responded to any questions or concerns I had about the crisis. And, you know, I kind of thought to myself, I understand that, you know, at that time, the crisis was new. We had no idea what was going to happen or how it's going to happen. I get it, but operations of government should always continue no matter what.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I'm not saying they could have done something right away, but they could have worked on plans, got things going, or at least work on something to show that they're trying to get a handle on the crisis, rather than, like I said, that week or two where it was nothing. You didn't hear nothing was going on, and I was really questioning it. And then from there, it just kind of, I started questioning a lot more stuff.
Okay.
You know, like, I tell everybody I don't fault the staff at GovGuam. I fault more or less the people in charge, because you look at DMV as an example. Why are the lines ridiculous? I mean, there's 1,000,001 different ways we could do this.
Yeah, Troy and I stood in line. Yeah, and I was kind of embarrassed because Troy came for me, you know? And I'm like, part of me was like, it's okay, Cello, I know you have other things to do, you know, you can go ahead. But I'm like, no way, we need to get this done. Like, stay here with me.
Well, the only thing I was thinking about the entire time was I needed to pee. Because you cannot go out of line.
But yes, it is ridiculous. It doesn't make sense because you're in line outside in the heat under the tent, right? Then I cracked a joke. I said, Cello, what are the chances of us, when finally they tell us we can enter that door, there's still a line in there?
I already knew the answer.
There is, Cello. I'm like, no, we're going to go out, right? Sure enough. And the line doesn't go straight. It's a zigzag.
So it's like waiting 8 hours to wait 2 hours.
Yeah.
So let me, if I summarize this incorrectly, just let me know.
Okay.
Are you saying that you want to provide solutions to the common man's problems? Is that what it is?
That's pretty much it.
Okay.
I mean, especially like I said, myself coming from just being a common person, I have that perspective, you know. I was unemployed during the crisis. I had to wait till beginning of June to finally apply, and what was it, maybe ending of June, beginning of July, I don't even remember when I finally got my first payment. And that was like how many months I had to survive. And I was lucky I had a savings account built up enough to survive.
Yeah.
And even at that, I was being drained at a drastic rate. And I can only imagine other people, you know, because I'm fortunate to have my family, especially at our ranch. We all are very close to each other. We help each other. So I was very fortunate on that end to have my family there to help support me, and also with me helping supporting them as they needed it. Throughout the crisis. But there are people out there that, you know, they have their own apartments and they lost their apartments.
Their cars
They
too.
lost their cars.
Yeah, I hear the banks are starting to repossess.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
And they're coming hard.
They are, and I've been hearing the stories.
Are you from Dedderdo?
Yes.
Okay, Hernandez. Is it that Hernandez family, like Romeo Hernandez? And all? Is he your uncle or something?
He's my uncle.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. Here, I remember he was a member of the Board of Education I think he was the chairman of the Board of Education. Jacob Nakamura says, "Oh wow, Johnny Rosario Nakamura, you look so beautiful." Hey, watch out there, Jacob, said Josh. Fletson Publicu says, "Together we will rise and fight against corruption." Viva Marianas. We're going to get into corruption, matter of fact. And I believe where you started was you were as an anti-corruption person.
Yes.
So we will absolutely talk about that. Let's see what other comments we have here. Chris Iekar Brando says, "What's up, Dom?" I'm saying her name wrong, right?
What's that?
Chris Iekar Brando says, "What's up, Dom?" Rosie Rose says, "Oh my God, I was just saying that out loud here, but for real. Hashtag fight corruption." Democratic senatorial candidate John Ananich is with us. John is joining us. Is it Thursday?
Thursday evening,
next week.
yeah.
And he says, "Good morning, Kandit."
Half a day, John.
Gus Jatanga says that election habit has to stop. Talking about, he was, I guess, agreeing with me about how voters, because it's not just the candidates who changed during the election, it's also the voters who changed during the election.
And of course, our culture is when our mom tells us to vote for somebody,
Right.
you know what I mean? And that's what led us to where we are today.
Yeah.
You know, people being complacent, they're used to that, or they just feel obligated, you know, and in order for us to make informed decisions, we have to know who you are,
Right.
you know. So that's our whole point of bringing you on, and I'm so glad, you know. Right when I messaged him, would you like to schedule to come on our show, and he's like, oh yeah, you know, like yeah.
Well, I mean, I watch your guys' show quite
We know,
often,
thank
so.
you. So the incumbents and the richer candidates have an automatic advantage because they have the advertising dollars. It's the new candidates, those who deserve the chance for the public to see and hear them. Really, this is for the public to have the chance to see and hear from all of the candidates.
For them, yeah.
And
for
so,
us.
thank you. We're going to go over a few items first. You're welcome to join along. And then we're going to ask you a bunch of questions. It's the same topics for every single candidate. It's public and police corruption, crimes against women and children, government finances, gambling, the Medical Malpractice Mandatory Arbitration Act, and your platform. So first, we need our audience to come to the rescue for Russet. Russet, and Cello, this is the dog that looks like Knox. Yes. Russet, according to Gain, I did not write this, is a cutie patootie. Cutie patootie Russet is a sweet 1-year-old girl who does well with other puppers. I would never say that. Is potty trained and has been at the shelter for nearly 6 months. She is such a deserving girl and hopes to find her new forever family soon. Meet her today at Gain. She looks like, okay, first of all, she's potty trained. First of all. So I think that's like a big plus for anybody. Secondly, she looks full boonie, which means that she's smart. Because, like, I have some purebreds. I have dumb dogs. my dogs are not bright. They're not bright at all. But I have a couple of boonies, and my boonies are smart, you know? And probably the next important thing is that she's been at the shelter for 6 months, meaning when the shelter fills up, she'll be on the chopping block. So if someone can go and please adopt Russet, the number is 653-GAIN. I don't know what that translates to into numbers, but call them at 653-GAIN. Ask about Russet. There's a short application process. There's, I think, a spay or neuter, in this case, a spay fee. But that's all, and you can take Russet home today. So
Do you know what the fees are?
No, I don't know.
Is it a lot?
I don't think so. Yeah. I think it's just the cost.
Yeah, because I'm freaking out. I have to take our new dog, Duke, that we adopted, right?
That one's going to be $65.
Yeah. So yeah.
That's for the second shots.
Whenever it comes to kids and getting their stuff done, I freak out. Like, what if I don't have enough money? What if
medical costs
yeah,
and
like
stuff
the
like that.
adulting things,
So no, the fee is not. It's not going to be extraordinary to adopt Rusted or any of the dogs and cats over at Gaines. So please, if you've got a heart for animals, do you have animals?
I do actually. I have
What do you
dogs.
have? How many dogs do you have?
Well, I own 4 that are mine. The rest
Okay.
of them are kind of boony. They kind of come in and eat and then go about their business.
So you actually own them. According to Guam law, you own them.
Oh, okay.
if
So
you
how
feed
many-
them, you own them.
So
Well,
how
they
many-
just come by, so I mean, they
So
kind of go
this
to like
morning
all
was so
the
funny.
neighborhood houses.
I got up and I took the dog out. Small dog, very smart dog. Put the leash on. We go out. He pisses, right? Perfect. Like, So I give him a treat. I'm like, yeah, okay. We go back in the house. And I guess the sign of them needing to poo, they like run around.
They do
And
the circle dance.
I thought he was just happy, and then he just poops. And I'm like, we just got in the house. Thank God. It's not the yucky poo-poo.
That's a diet thing. Oh, that means he doesn't have worms then.
Yeah.
All right. So we're done with Pet of the Week. Now I want to rehash a topic from yesterday, and it is Big Sopsy, the owner of International Royals, who is under investigation in the CNMI. And yesterday, and it's for, if you're just joining us, he's under investigation for price gouging the CNMI government for a whole bunch of PPEs that he sold to the CNMI government. He received a $2.8 million contract, and according to a vendor list, it was $2.8 million for
Not
PPEs.
2.58.
2.5, I got it wrong, it's 2.53 is the first invoice. So there's probably a second or a third invoice. So there was an invoice that shows a detail of what he was selling to the CNMI government, at least for the bulk of that $2.8 million. And in just one of those line items, it says 250,000 face masks, the generic blue and white face masks, at $2.99 a piece. He sold those same face masks to the Mayor's Council of Guam for $2 a piece. And these are the same face masks that retail at
40 cents a piece.
for 40 cents a piece. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
dang.
Yeah, and that's just one line item. That doesn't include the shirts. He sold them at $25.95 a piece at I think 40,000 shirts that he sold, at an average of $25.95
Why did they
a
need
piece.
shirts?
I don't know.
What is that for?
But who knows? There's only 60,000 residents of the Commonwealth. So I hope they clothed 2/3 of the residents of the Commonwealth, if that's the case. And then there's Jafar. And then sorry.
Thanks, Denise. You're my home girl.
And
You're
then
my home skillet biscuit.
she sold the infrared thermometers that you go on Amazon or Wish, you can get them for $6.95, $11.95. He sold them to the Commonwealth for $90 a piece. Yeah, 100 of them. There's just so much. What?
Joe Brayo says he has that resting big face.
Anyway.
I love Jill.
So anyway, and it's not just price gouging that they're investigating. International Royal has never done business in the CNMI. So how this company got a sole
even
source
bid.
contract. Yeah. And this is a big embarrassment for Guam, because this is a Guam businessman that did this to the struggling people of the Commonwealth. They're going through stuff already. They're going through their own corruption because of their governor. And then now we have Guam businesses taking full advantage of that, of relationships with Governor Ralph Torres. It's a complete embarrassment for Guam. And so Bick was appointed by the governor to sit on the airport board. And the legislature had a confirmation hearing for Bick yesterday. And he was asked, do you have that portion of the video where Tello Taitigui asked him, are you under investigation? Because I testified, I was like, look, he's under investigation. You can't confirm him. And so Tello asked Bick, are you under investigation by the CNMI government? And Bick says, no, I'm not under investigation. And bold-faced lie, we got direct comments from Congressman Ed Probst and Congresswoman Tina Sablan yesterday after that lie that Bick told the Guam legislature.
If you need it, I got it queued up.
Oh yeah, can we show our audience, please?
Recognized. Do you have any questions at this time?
Just Masi, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to speak. First, thank you for willing to serve the people of Guam. And, Bick, there's been some allegations toward you, and I want to be able to hear from you on any of those allegations, if they're true or not.
That's not true. I supplied to different islands. Anybody needs goods, I've been doing this from last 40 years. This is not my new business, and this is my old business. And I've been doing that from last 39 to 40 years.
So you don't think there's anything wrong with these allegations of price gouging or anything like that?
No, during those times, it was tough times, and I had to go source this. So everything, the shortage was so bad that we had to get these goods at a premium prices. And look at for example, the price for the gloves. The company prices have been gone up from $5 to $12 a box today because there's a shortage of gloves. And during that time, all these factories which we are buying and shipping stopped completely. So we had to bring everything from DHL or airlines, not by sea shipment, because we have to pay 3 times the price to bring these goods in.
So I guess my last question is, are you being investigated by the CNMI government at this time?
No, not to my knowledge.
You're not being investigated?
Okay. Not to my knowledge. They haven't.
Not to his knowledge.
Okay. Well, if that's what you're saying, I'm kind of seeing the news lately, and your name is out there, so I think you're kind of... Sorry, go ahead, Dick.
They haven't called me yet.
Oh, yes. Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair, for that opportunity. Thank you.
If you're not Ray Tapontia, you just love Tello Taitigui.
Can I just say that not only is he whatever happened in the CNMI, but also here in Guam, our last incident with Bick was when the school board decided that parents do not have to buy uniforms this year because we're all having a hard time. Mm-hmm. He was pressuring the school board the day they announced it, that whole night, and he even showed up at Tizen and when we showed up. The moment we showed up,
he split.
Boom, out of there.
He got on his magic carpet and he was gone.
And I love Maria Gutierrez. Mm-hmm. She is the head of the board, and she announced it that her phone was blowing up all the way. And older people, they like to sleep early. Well, he was calling her even at 10 o'clock at night, and that was to pressure them for the uniform usage, or for them to change
to make it mandatory, so that these struggling parents throughout this island would be forced to buy his uniforms. Can you imagine that? And we're going to get to your comments about that, and I really wanted to ask you about this. Mm-hmm. But first, Congresswoman Tina Sablan, she said, as a member of the special committee that is reviewing contracts and other expenditures related to the Commonwealth's COVID-19 response, I can confirm that the CNMI's contract with International Royal, doing business as Royal Bigs, is among the contracts under investigation and was scrutinized at length during oversight hearings in the legislature this week. I expect that scrutiny to continue as questions have yet to be answered and additional hearings will be conducted. And then Congressman Ed Probst added, there are serious problems with that contract. No one seems to know how the quote for the contract came about, and the items listed don't even have details, lacking basic information like size or volume. How is it possible Royal Bigs charged $22.95 for a box of nitrile gloves, while Med Farm charged about 1/3 the price at $8? Now, Dominic,
Wait, Troy, you know about contracts or quotes or whenever you do a bid or whatever it's called. Don't you have to attach your business license?
You would think, yeah.
You're supposed to, as far as I know.
Right?
You're supposed to. He has no business license in the CNMI.
None.
He has no business
in the CNMI.
In the CNMI.
Yeah. And if he's been doing this for 40 years, they really need to investigate what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Dominic, public corruption is a big deal, as you can see, even though the Northern Mariana Islands and Guam are two separate political entities. Corporate corruption from Guam has reached its dirty little hands over into political corruption in the CNMI, and I'm sure vice versa, this sort of thing happens. But even without this, inter-island stuff going on, there is enough corruption happening in Guam to go around, and we see it. First, let's just talk about, what are your thoughts about corruption?
Well, I mean, first off, I'm trying to say this in a nice way without sounding
You don't have
too
to.
messed
Say
up.
it.
You don't say it in a nice way.
Say it.
Okay. I mean, for lack of a better term, I just hate corruption. And the fact that, like in this situation, you have the quotes and everything, and then you got different prices from different sources saying what their prices are, and it's clear to see that there is a difference. Black and white is black and white. You can't argue what is black and white. And it's one thing to try to make a buck because I get it. Being a prior business owner myself, you're in competition with people. You're trying to not lower yourself to the point to where it's too cheap, to where you can't make any money, but at the same time try to make a little bit for yourself so you can make a living. I get that. But then there's that point where you're taking it too far. You're just being messed up because, like you said, if it, what was it, the thermometer one you said was like $11 and some change?
Between $6 and $11, yeah.
Right, and then you're charging $90, that's a bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's way beyond ridiculous.
At the time when we need all the money we need for food.
Right.
Like at the time when part of that money could have went to the people of the CNMI for a food drive, for something.
For something, I mean,
well, let me ask you this. If you were in the legislature yesterday during this confirmation hearing for BIC, what would you have done or asked?
Well,
as a member of the committee?
For one, I would have brought up the paperwork that shows what he had contracted or what he was selling to them, the prices. And then I also would have brought up prices, like you said, from Wish and stuff like that, showing the difference in price and saying, hey, where did you get your numbers? How did you figure that, you can charge 1,000% on this when people can buy it online, pay the shipping, and it's going to be way cheaper than what you're charging now?
Let's localize this now. Let's take this away from the CNMI and bring it back to Guam. Are you satisfied with what the Guam legislature has done so far in its oversight responsibilities regarding the Pacific Star contract?
Not at all.
What would you do then?
So for one, with the contract, like I was there at the hearing, and I remember you were there as well for that public hearing. Do the research first. Go out, ask the different hotels. I understand we were on a time crunch. I get it. But you could have kept it open for 3 or 4 days, sent a mass email to all of the GMs at all the different hotels and said, hey, look, we need a quarantine site. This is what we need. This is what we can afford. This is what we're willing to pay. And from there, I'm pretty sure a lot of hotels probably would have responded because at that time, tourists pretty much got cut off. So they need something to stay afloat as well. And I remember that day at the public hearing, I brought up the fact that there was at least 4 hotels, just straight off the bat, I named, that were below the $100 budget, that are not being used or didn't even get considered or looked at.
I remember you did your research, you found that one of them was like $45.
It was like $45 or something like that, yeah.
I remember that.
And it's stuff like that where we could have saved money. And what was it as well? I believe like half of the rooms weren't even occupied, and we still paid for it in the end. And I'm looking at it like,
yeah, we paid for the 19th floor.
And I would have done, if I was in office today, I would have definitely done a better oversight on it and said, hey, where are you getting your numbers? How did you figure this was the best price? Did you ask these other companies? Did you check with them? If not, let's check with them now. Let's see what they're offering. If it's the lowest, then it's the lowest. We'll take it. But at the same time, make sure we have stipulations to say, hey, look, we're not sure how many people we're going to have, But for every room, and note it on the contract to say, for every room that is occupied, we will pay for it. Versus, you know, saying, well, we want 300 rooms occupied or not, we're paying for it. Because that's kind of, from what my understanding, that's kind of what happened. It seems like.
No, let me ask you this. What if you're in there and, you know, your ma guest, Senator Moylan or Senator Taitakui, whoever it is, right? You're about to launch this public announcement of, you know, we're going to look into this allegations of corruption by Governor Lulian Guerrero. What if Senator Moylan or Senator Taitakui or someone like who's higher up in the chain, right, calls you up and says, hey, Senator Hernandez, the governor just called and she's asking that we talk to you to get you to back off from doing this announcement. And in return, she's going to give us, the Republicans, this, and this. And we've really been working hard for this. And you know that these are really good things. What would you do?
First off, and I said it before, even online, I'm here for the people. You know, with all respects to the parties, you know, don't get me wrong, I have respect for the party. But at the end of the day, it's about the people, because that's what they're electing us to be, as public servants. We're supposed to serve the public within their best interest. And, you know, I said it from the beginning, I'm running because of that. I'm not running for any political ties or political interest or personal interest. So for me, even if that was offered, you know, if it was something for the people, like let's say, you know, they say, hey, Dominic, you know, don't announce something and she will help build the homeless shelter faster, something like that, something that's going to benefit people. Maybe I could consider.
Would you turn a blind eye to?
I wouldn't turn a blind eye. I wouldn't turn a blind eye. I'd more or less, I guess, talk to her about it and say, hey, you know, why didn't you do this before? Why weren't you already doing this? Why did it take me to step up and say something and put you in the spotlight in order for you to finally, you know, get this going, get this ball rolling?
But would you move, because it's separate subject, this homeless shelter, whatever,
right?
From separate and apart from your goal to expose some sort of corruption, would you back away from exposing that corruption?
No, especially if it's doing harm to the people.
Okay.
Especially if it's doing harm to the people, no.
Okay.
I can't. Because like I said, at the end of the day, my interest is for the people.
Okay. So you would not back down when presented a deal?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I would give the courtesy of having a discussion, definitely. But if it's...
She won't discuss anything.
But
you know that's where the deals are made, right?
With discussions, yeah.
That the deals are made during those backroom discussions.
Right. Yeah.
When they wine you and dine you, they bring you into the governor's chambers and
make
they're
you
so
feel like
nice
you're the
to you.
boy.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
I know.
where the deals
You
are
know?
done.
I know. And you know, like I said, for me, because a lot of people even brought up the point, yo, you're only running because you want the money. And I've told people the truth. I said, if I really want the money, I go to the States, where I can work as a factory worker and probably get paid more than a senator.
There's no money in a senatorial salary.
No, there's not.
It's just $55,000 a year.
It's really not.
It's not
a
like
lot.
being a mayor. A mayor is $85,000 a year.
Is it 85?
Yeah, for a mayor.
Well,
yeah.
55,000 is still a lot more. If you're gonna go, I want to shake hands at a funeral for 55 grand. Shoot, I'll go there every day and I'll be on time.
Are you gonna do that? Are you gonna do the funeral runs when you're a senator?
Only if I know the person.
Okay, cool. Fair enough. Now, yesterday we asked Democratic senatorial candidate Frank Leon Guerrero an uncomfortable question about Governor Lulian Guerrero, and he answered it directly. So now I'm going to ask you a question on the Republican side of things. And as you've been watching us for a while, so you know that that we understand the corruption that went on in the Calvo administration. And we know that while Governor Lulian Guerrero has her thing, you know, and she's probably got her candidates or whatever, Governor Eddie Calvo has his thing. He's gearing up to run for governor. He's got his candidates running for senator, some of the people on your slate, right? What? And I won't put you on the spot. You don't have to like name people or anything like that. But there are a few Calvo candidates who are running. They are like returnees or whatever. What is your relationship with the rest of the Republican slate? And are you going to sign some sort of unity pledge, or what is your level of commitment to your fellow Republicans?
I'll say this, I'm grateful for them accepting me and being open with me. I'm also grateful for the fact that they have done some support, like the public waves together and stuff like that. And they have my respect. They do.
You know those public waves ain't for you.
Oh, I know.
It's for them.
I mean,
you know?
I understand, and they definitely have my respect, without a doubt. But like I said, and I'll say it again, ultimately, I'm running for the people. And that's just what it comes down to. And I'm not saying that I'm against them, because I'm not. Like I said, I have respect for what they've done for me, helping me, teaching me certain things here and there about how things are going to be and what to expect and so forth. So they earn my respect, without a doubt. But as far as...
Do you recognize that at least two of them are some of the most corrupt people who've ever served this island?
I would say yes.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. Thank you. And with that brings us to, because one of them was a very big participant in police corruption. And so, as you know,
and then just one of them is very big.
And one of them is very big, yes. Kandit started, it was the police corruption thing that got us together and whatever. What are your thoughts about police corruption?
Well...
And what would you do to end it?
Well, for one, I mean, are we talking about, like, with the drug cartels and stuff like that? Or
just
in general?
Police, bad police officers...
Being bullies.
Using their
badge.
Abusing their power.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've never...
Trampling on people's civil rights, things like that.
I mean, here in Guam, I've yet to have experienced it myself personally. So I've only seen... I saw, like, one video recently, somebody had commented on one of my posts, and I watched it, and there was a point where I can understand where they're coming from, and I could see where the police officer could have done things a lot better than the way he had handled it. But then there was a point, too, where he shut off the camera, and from there, I can't tell what happened. I don't know if maybe he said something to antagonize the police officer. I don't know, because the camera was off. So I can't make a judgment without seeing the full...
What are you talking about? What video is this?
I'll have to bring it up. Somebody had left it in a comment on my page, and it was like maybe about a 2.5, 3 minute video. They were just recording. Somebody got pulled over or something was happening, and he was just recording. He was telling the police officer, hey, I'm within my rights to record, so forth. And the police officer agreed, yeah, that's fine, but I need you to go over here, go over here. He said, okay. And then he shut off the camera, and he said that he was walking away. But again, with the camera off, we don't know. Okay. There could have been an interaction between him and the police officer.
This is Tony's video.
Yeah, this is over at the evidence.
Yeah.
The evidence section. Well, let's talk about the other incident caught on camera. Officer Joey Uggan punching a cuffed, unarmed man.
See, no, that's wrong. I disagree with that. Once a person's been detained or they've been pinned down and they gain control of the situation, there's no need to escalate with force. And, it's definitely not take a cheap shot. That's just messed up. Being in the military myself, we were trained that once we pin you down, we hold you, and that's it. We leave you there until, somebody arrests you or whatever the case may be, depending on the situation. And I'm not a police officer myself, but I would assume, based upon those type of trainings, that that's what they would do as well. Or at least they're supposed to do, is once they pin you down or detain you, that's it. No more escalation of force, and from there take you where they need to take you. But yeah, as far as cheap shots and stuff like that, I completely disagree with that.
There's a zero tolerance policy in Gov Guam for drug use. Mm-hmm. Would you support a zero tolerance policy in Gov Guam for police corruption?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not saying that GPD is bad, because I know some police officers out here, they're great people. Mm-hmm. I love them. They're great friends, and they're awesome. And I get it, we're going to have corruption everywhere. It's bound to happen no matter what. But yes, we should have a zero tolerance on it, especially when it comes to the rights of people. Example, if a person wants to record the incident, yes, you can tell them, go stand over at that corner, that's fine. but don't tell him he doesn't have the right to record, or don't try to antagonize him, or whatever the case may be that people are claiming police officers are doing. You know, there should be zero tolerance for it.
What about transparency in internal investigations or internal affairs or complaints made against police officers and how those investigations are run?
Like, do you mind elaborating a little more?
So right now, there's just like zero transparency.
If I make a complaint with Guam Police Department against a police officer, it dings them to start an investigation, but I cannot see what they're investigating, what they found out, how they got to that. They can just come back and say, we didn't find out anything, or it's unfounded.
The law says they're supposed to publish a report. They never do. The law says that it's supposed to be published on their website. It's not there. I think the last time anything was published was in 2012, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the GPD website also is not fully, just like most Guam websites, are not fully operational.
Up to date, yeah.
So, I mean, the culture of secrecy and the ability for bad cops to get away with things, it's
there.
Yeah, and so
see, and
what can you do about that?
Well, see, that's part of the reason why I wanted to run, because I noticed stuff like this, like going back to DRT, and now you're mentioning with GPD, their websites. You know, I've noticed myself that, you know, they need to improve it, they need to update it, they need to make it more efficient and more effective. With the GPD one, I mean, I haven't looked into that myself, personally. But if they're not updating records, they should, especially if it's already a law, or if it's already written that they're supposed to be public about this stuff. And I believe in transparency, because at the end of the day, you know, the public, stuff like with GPD, it's being funded by the public.
Yeah.
So it's only fair that since the taxpayers are funding it, you be transparent with the taxpayer, knowing, you know, how the department's being ran, what's going on with criminal investigations. If a victim wants to know what's happening, they should have at least, you know, some kind of knowledge. I'm not saying you have to release all the information, especially when it comes to the safety of the police officer as well, because, you know, it doesn't happen often, but I've heard some crazy cases in the States where the victim ended up becoming the aggressor. You know, it does happen, and I get it. So by all means, I want to also protect the safety of the officer, but there should be at least some kind of knowledge to say, hey, you know, this is what we've looked into, this is what we've done, this is what we're investigating, at least something to show that it's being processed and it's being looked into.
The law says that that's supposed to happen, but it doesn't happen.
And see, that's the thing. That's where I want to step in, to be that person. And hopefully, you know, whatever department if I get elected, whatever department I end up oversighting, I plan to be that person to say, hey, look, I want my reports. And, you know, I'll give it a couple of days. If you don't give me my reports, I'm knocking on your door.
Okay, fair enough. Now, I want to show our audience something related to a fellow Republican on the Guam side, but not running for senator. Go ahead and capture my screen, Chelu. This is Congresswoman Tina Sablan yesterday in the Commonwealth Legislature during a continuing investigation into Governor Ralph Torres's executive expenditures, and she brings up Guam Senator Will Castro.
So, and we'll be getting to that when we make our motion for this.
Duly noted. Any comments, concerns? One.
Chair, just so that we're clear, I know that the minority leader has used his time now to rip Tina. So, are you saying now that you're going to present what documents that are needed to this subpoena?
I will be going over the draft subpoena that council has prepared. Yes.
So you guys don't have any document that could kind of get us, abreast on
what's in the subpoena? Yes, actually, Sergeant at Arms should have given you a copy of this draft subpoena to the Secretary of Finance.
Thank you, floor. Rep. Sablan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, to follow on to Congressman Probst's presentation, and again, just reviewing the same memorandum for reimbursement, I want to also highlight for the committee an expense that was made on January 7th, 2019. And the T Galleria. So we're still looking at the same memorandum for reimbursement that we've been discussing. And if you could please pull up the receipt for reimbursement for T Galleria. This would be on, I guess, on the second page. Sure. The receipt for the gift for Guam Senator Will Castro, the T Galleria receipt. Oh, yes. The copy didn't turn out so great, so you can't, but it is a T Galleria receipt for a bottle of Blue Label Scotch, valued at $170.10. Yeah, got it. So, the governor's request for reimbursement cites this expense as a gift for Senator Will Castro of Guam. There is no description of the public purpose that justifies this gift, but we in the minority did reach out to Senator Castro to ask him to describe the nature of his meeting with the governor and the purpose of this gift. And I want to ask counsel or the clerk to please bring up Senator Castro's response, and I'd like to just read it for the record. It's not a long statement. And this is dated July 3rd, 2020. Affidavit Representative Sablan, in January of 2019, following the coordination of donated relief items to the CNMI as a result of Super Typhoon U2, I hosted a reception for volunteers and officials at my residence. This was not an official function. I've had a number of social functions before and after January, all of which were for the same purpose, to appreciate those who volunteered time, effort, and or items to assist residents of the CNMI following the destruction of the Super Typhoon. As with all social gatherings at my house, food and drinks were donated and prepared by family and friends voluntarily. The events were after 5 p.m. As I recall, many in attendance, some of whom are government officials, may have contributed. Governor Torres was in attendance. He and his guests contributed something to the event, either in the form of food or drinks. Whatever was brought by the governor, I assure you that it was not delivered to me as a personal gift. Any and all items were placed on the tables and made available for all guests to consume. And I'd like to submit this for the committee's record.
Okay, I didn't bring this up to actually talk about the issue on Will Castro. We did talk about it last night, though, but I'm not going to ask you about Senator Will Castro. That is actually beside the point. The point was to show you Congresswoman Tina Sablan. She is, like you, before she ran for the legislature, just a common person. She had a job as a TV reporter with KSPN. I think she did a stint with Congressman Gregorio Khalidi Sablan. And she ran, she's not an accountant. She's not like a fiscal manager or anything. But as you can see in this video, she's doing her job as a legislator to hold the governor of the CNMI accountable for expenditures. And so the biggest role of of a senator has to do with the budget and has to do with the government's finances. So how do you see yourself in that role?
Well, I've already been questioning, especially with the budget. I looked at the budget from fiscal year 2019, which was $700-some million. Then fiscal year 2020 was $900-some million, and I was pretty mind-blown.
Okay.
Because that's almost a 30% increase in the budget. And then I'm wondering, where is it going? Mm-hmm. I've been looking into public safety as an example, and GPD gets 37-point-something million per year. And I'm thinking to myself, like, wow, out of $1 billion, that's all you can give them? Mm-hmm. That's pretty low, if you ask me, personally. I at least would have done a little bit more to try to get these guys more cop cars to help patrol the streets, keep the streets safe. That way, too, the response time gets cut down, because I've heard the stories about response times from GPD, so, and it's stuff like that I look at and I'm wondering, where's it all going? And when I do my research, and I see directors getting hundreds plus $1,000s per year. I'm not saying not to pay a person what they don't deserve. By all means, pay a person what they deserve. But at the same note, understand that these are public services.
Okay.
For me, I feel that if you're going to do a public service, you're doing it because you're doing it for the interest of the public. You're not doing it for money. And that's how it should be. And, with Guam being such a small island, small community and everything like that, I've looked at other budgets from different cities across the U.S. who have bigger populations than us and still manages to run their cities with the same amount of budget or lower and be effective and efficient. So I'm wondering, why can't we do the same?
Are you willing, if you were a senator, would you be willing to cut an agency's budget below its personnel level?
Give me an example.
Let's say an agency needs
Land Trust.
Let's say Chamorro Land Trust needs $750,000 to operate, and it needs $750,000 for its. Let's say $200,000 is for rent, and the rest of it is for personnel. Now, the government budget is in a situation where you cannot give every agency everything that it needs at its personnel level.
Right.
Let's say that you could only really budget responsibly $650,000 for Chamorro Land Trust.
It's
what
funny.
Would you do?
I was asked this question before, and I would hate to see anybody get laid off or unemployed, because I've been there myself. It sucks. I know the feeling.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, we still got to do what we got to do to budget ourselves. I tell everybody that if a normal average person who lives off $1,000 or $2,000 per month has to budget themselves throughout that entire month, of those who don't have a job that have to budget themselves based upon what they get off PUA, why can't the government do the same? They have to. It only makes sense. So if we have to switch certain positions from maybe full-time to part-time, at least you're still got a job, you're still getting paid, you're still getting something rather than nothing at all.
That's not a senator's job. That's a governor's job.
Understood, but I would make
those
that
administrative changes.
I would at least make the suggestion.
Would you be willing to cut that budget from $750 to $650, knowing that will mean personnel?
If it's for the better interest of the common good for all people, then yes. If it has to be done, I want to avoid it by all means as much as possible. Okay. But again, if right now, seeing that there's 30,000 plus people unemployed or reduced hours, if we have to focus our efforts into Department of Labor to get people to work, then that's where we have to focus. It's nothing against. It's nothing personal.
But again, that's the governor's job.
Right.
The governor's job is to do those sort of things. When it comes to government finances, the senator's job is just to tell the governor,
this is how much money you have.
Right.
Yeah. So are you willing to tell the governor what her ceiling is, even understanding that it might cost jobs?
In the end, like I said, if it has to be done, it has to be done.
Okay.
I'd hate to see it happen.
Okay.
Because like I said, I've been unemployed. That sucks really bad.
You know why the government's budget never is fiscally responsible, and there always is what the financial people over at Standard & Poor's and Moody's and Fitch ratings call a structural imbalance in the general fund of the government of Guam is because of our inability to truly match revenues with expenditures, and most of our expenditures outside of contracts has to do with personnel.
Yeah, we should show what DOL's doing at 9:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the video, but
so
we should show what our taxpayer money's, where it's going.
Well, are you willing to cut contracts in the government of Guam? I'm sorry, cut fundings, knowing that contracts going to all these different businesses might have to be cut.
If they're not necessary or needed, then absolutely. Because, like it's at the end of the day, we got to rebuild everything, and we're on a tight budget. I mean, what was our shortfall for taxes? 40 some million or something like that. I mean, we're running thin, and that's just the truth. You know, no one may not want to admit it, but realistically speaking, that's where we're heading to, because, you know, if we're continuously aren't able to generate enough tax money from the taxpayers, eventually we're going to get to that point where we're going to run thin. So we have to start more or less conserving, budgeting, and if need be, if it comes down to it, hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully we can figure it out before it gets to that point. But if need be, start doing what we have to do to keep everything operational, and focus on the priorities that need to be focused on, which right now, from my own opinion, would be getting people back to work.
What's your position on the medical malpractice mandatory arbitration?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions from David Lebowski. I pinned it.
Okay.
Let me get it. We've been covering this medical malpractice for a pretty long time.
Are you familiar with the issue?
Not entirely. I've read up on it. I've heard from the side of what it does, especially toward people, but I never read into the law fully and understand it fully. I'm still trying to.
This is what the law does. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm a parent, right? My daughter gets surgery and they leave the scissors in her. The doctor leaves the scissors or whatever tools in her. Mm-hmm. They find out later she gets infected. We find out later that's the reason why. And I want to sue that doctor because he hurt my daughter. I cannot sue that doctor. This is the law right now, okay? I can't sue that doctor unless I have $60,000. And I work here at Kandit. I don't make much money. That's all I have. And because of the law, the medical malpractice law, I cannot literally get a lawyer to go and sue this doctor in court. I have to pay $60,000 in order to even get them to look at my case. So, and that's the law right now. Right? Did I explain that right?
Yeah. So unless you have a lot of money sitting in a bank that you're willing to give up, you do not have a right to due process.
So, I mean, because like I said, I'm still studying it. So what was the purpose of the law to begin with?
To protect doctors.
Okay.
And as, I don't know if
because
you know, but doctors...
back then, in the 70s and the 80s, Guam didn't have many doctors. So in order for them to get insurance, it was the amount was crazy, right? Because whenever you get a quote from an insurance, it's everybody,
right.
Everybody there, right? So the price was crazy. So that's why they passed this law. From people suing doctors left to right, and it's hard to get that insurance. But now that we have all these doctors, it's better now. The insurance for malpractice is way cheaper. They can afford it. Trust me. That's why that law was written.
And doctors have been the top contributors to successful politicians for the past several years.
Well, I mean, I'll say this: with any situation, I always want to know more about it. I believe in the old philosophy. You know, and again, I'm not saying anybody's wrong.
I just explained it to you. I just explained the nooks and crannies of what medical malpractice. I want a straightforward answer. Are you going to repeal it? Do you agree with it? How do you feel? I don't want to hear that.
I mean, from the perspective of
you're
the
a parent.
Person,
yeah, they did it to you. They cut you.
It is wrong, and I will admit that it is. I mean, you should.
Do you feel like you have a right to sue that doctor right now because he hurt you?
If in that situation, if it was me,
that's what's happening right now. That's what's going on. That doctor hurt Mr. Lebowski's son. That he's dead. That 5-year-old child is dead.
And Mr. Lebowski
and nobody
can't hold the doctors accountable for it.
And there's no way around it or
nothing,
anything?
Because none of the senators today will answer us or Mr. Lebowski. They keep giving answers like you were trying to give. And I want to know where you stand with this, because our viewers, we want action. Okay? All of these, they keep saying yes, I'm this, I'm that, or they give a political answer. No, We need a clean slate. We need answers, and we need to get it done.
We need a direct answer, Dominic.
Yeah.
Okay.
A direct answer to this question. Would you support the repeal or the reform of the Medical Malpractice Mandatory Arbitration Act?
We just gave you the basics.
If the answer is no, then maybe we leave it alone. That's your opinion.
I mean, again,
You cannot sue them right now. You, as a person, put it in your Okay, I need you to.
Okay.
It's you, your mom, your dad, your stepdad who loved you, who took care of you, who raised you. They killed him because they didn't do the necessary testing. They didn't do the necessary things to keep your dad alive. And you don't have a right now to sue that doctor that killed your father.
Do they allow for a second opinion at least? Or
No, none.
Nothing?
You need $60,000 right now to put it down on the table for them to even look at your case. That is how the law is on Guam right now. Nowhere in the country, in the United States of America, do they have this law. Only on Guam.
I mean, there are arbitration laws throughout the country, but they're not as severe as they are on Guam.
Mm-hmm. And all these doctors, okay, that have been here forever, that make a godly amount of money, donate to all these sitting senators. I have the paperwork. I have the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
You, as a son, do not have a right to sue that doctor without $60,000. And that still doesn't guarantee you a day in court for the doctor to answer for not taking care of your father. This man who raised you. What do you think about that law?
In my own personal opinion, I don't agree with that. I don't, because...
So as a senator, what would your opinion be?
Well, I would definitely look into reforming it, or even if have to, because again, I don't know the full-on law because I haven't read it myself. But I would definitely consider trying to reforming it, or if need be, I guess get rid of it. However, whatever, we have to do to make it fair at the end of the day. Because again, I don't know the full-on law. I didn't even know you had to pay $60,000 just to get a case.
It could be like $40,000, $50,000.
Right.
It depends on the lawyer.
I mean, I have to read more into this and get a better understanding, especially from some of my friends who understand law better than I do. But I'm definitely want to look into it and see if we can reform it to make it fair. I wish I could give a better answer, but I can't because I don't know the full-on spectrum of it.
So this is the issue that we've been having with current senators regarding this issue.
Yeah, because I don't know why people are against changing it or against reforming it. I'm not sure.
Because the money that they receive, the senators it's only the senators because they receive money from these doctors.
So current senators have given a similar response to what you told us just now, and it has led to no action so far for the reform of this act.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, the answer that she's given us very much resembles the answer that Speaker Tina Mooney Barnes gave us. And so what she did, she was like, I don't know enough about this law. I'm going to research it. I'm going to look into it. What she ended up doing was researching it with doctors and lawyers. And that led to her introduction of a bill that says that she was going to reform the Malpractice Act. It ended up just continuing to protect doctors.
And she tried to put Asher's name on that law, which was a spit in Mr. Lebowski's face. I believe so. That's my personal opinion. And so she introduced this bill, and then it came out that doctors wrote the bill. And I'm sure she had the best of intentions or whatever, but because she didn't know about it, because she gave I need to consult with the experts. When senators say we're gonna consult with the experts, you have to be careful. Who's your expert?
Yeah, who are your experts, and why doesn't the senator know about this issue? Why is it that after heartbreaking testimony after heartbreaking testimony, the 15 members of the Guam legislature right now
are still sitting on
haven't done anything about this issue? And so you're a candidate to replace at least one of them. You need to give us a better answer than the answer that they've been giving everybody.
We need people in there that's going to fight for us. When we elect you in there, you're going to be our voice. The common people, the poor people, the people, women and children who are abused by their family, women and children who are with family violence. They get beaten down every day. We need people in there. We have people in there already that are spoken. They speak for the rich people to make sure their pockets are aligned. We need people in there that's going to fight for a drug addict like me, you know. We in order for all of us to be lifted up, we have to help each other, and I need you to answer it, because that is the basics of the law. Do you have $60,000 in your pocket right now to get justice for your father? You know, you get what I'm saying?
And with the respects to the $60,000 requirement or whatever, I think that's ridiculous. And I'll state that out there. It is ridiculous if that's the requirement to be able to get the case looked at or to be able to take it to court. You know, and like I said, it only makes sense to make it more fair, especially toward people. You know, I get it. We got to pay legal fees. We got to pay court fees. Got it. Tracking. But 60,000, that's a number that's way out there. I don't even know how they came up with a number like that.
It's not, the number's not in the law. This is,
okay.
So let me...
When you hire arbitration...
Let me re-explain the law. So, right now, if you had a claim against a doctor for what you believe to be malpractice that the doctor committed on whoever, right? You can't go to the court and file a lawsuit against the doctor. You can't. Because the law says that you have to enter into arbitration.
Okay.
And what the law actually says is the arbitration panel has to be this American arbitration something. It's a AAA. They're in the States. Or that Guam can have its own arbitration panel as approved by blah, blah, blah. Guam doesn't have that. There's only this AAA. So you have to fly these people in.
Out of your own
and then you have to house them.
That's where the amount comes from.
No,
not even?
Not even. Because the first thing you need to do is get a lawyer to handle your arbitration. And the lawyer is going to charge you somewhere between $40,000 and $60,000 just to get things started. And the law says it's your cost, not the doctor's cost.
I see what you're saying. Okay, I'm tracking better now.
So you don't have any due process rights until... you exhaust, unless you have a lot of money. Like, people don't have $40,000. Even middle class people don't have. Even upper middle class people don't have $40,000 in cash laying around.
Right.
So the only way you can ever get due process if a doctor hurt you or a loved one is if you have money. And due process is a constitutional right. This is actually being challenged in court right now as a violation of residents' due process constitutional rights. So this is a question of your fundamental beliefs in people's rights. And as a senator, where do you stand on safeguarding people's fundamental beliefs or fundamental right to due process?
When it comes to fundamental rights to due process, I stand up on the people's side on that. Everybody has the right to due process. I mean, it's a constitutional right. It's a given right. Now, with the laws...
But not on Guam. It's the MMMA is an example of how people's due process rights have been violated.
See, and with regards to the arbitration law, like I said, you know, it needs, in my personal opinion, especially now that you explain it, where you have to pay out for the doctors to come out, especially from the states, to get a board together. You have to pay for the lawyer fees, legal fees, all that kind of stuff. And that's not even a guarantee that if a judge will even look at it, because you may have to pay more afterwards.
It's not a guarantee. You're
right.
Yeah.
Because like you said, it's not being taken up with the courts. That's something that definitely needs to be looked into. That's definitely something I believe that, you know, and I'm not saying consult experts necessarily. You know, I get where you're coming from as well, that, you know, doctors, or not just doctors, but people in the higher echelons of things have a tendency to put their money in people's pockets to sway one way or another, however it may be. I'm not saying everybody does that, but I know it happens. It does. So I'm not saying we have to consult the experts as in the doctors themselves. I do want to hear their side, but I also want to hear the testimony of the people that have suffered from it.
So I'll give you 6 people, 6 families that you need to speak to so you can understand what's going on. And these families, their children are dead. They're dead because of these doctors. And there's 6 of them. There's a baby that was a twin, Tyler Titegui's daughter, Mr. Lebowski, Monica De Vera. There's all these families who have been practically begging for some kind of change. And so we want to make change. We want to change things in the legislature. We need people that are going to stand up for us because nobody is standing up for us.
And after this, do you mind if I get the contact or email?
I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give it to you.
Because I would like to talk to them. I would like to know. I'd like to hear it firsthand.
You never heard from Mr. Lebowski?
Not from him personally. I've heard of the story. I remember reading it in the news.
Mr. Lebowski says he's discussed it with him online.
Was it? It might have been him online. I mean, I remember.
Mr. Lebowski, you can't forget him. He's very vocal, and he tells you how much he loves his son.
I remember I spoke to somebody, and this was like maybe a few months back. They were telling me the story, and then when they brought up the story and I read it on a website, I remember I said, "Hey, yeah, I remember that story," and but that was the only story that I've heard so far. And again, I want to hear from other people because is other people out there that said, "Hey, it happened to me," so forth. They messaged a little bit.
It's the same story though. They cannot sue. The story's the same. Something happened, right? They cannot sue the doctor because they need to go to arbitration first, and they cannot afford the cost of arbitration. It's the same. These are identical stories.
All of
them. Now, how the loved one was hurt, that's of course the different story, right? Everyone, but it's the same exact story of
that
what happened.
Do nothing just because of that law.
They can't even hold the doctor accountable before the Guam Board of Medical Examiners because of the corruption that exists on this island. And so, let me just ask you because I don't want it to seem like we're bullying you into taking a commitment. Let me ask you, why are you hesitant to commit one way or the other on this issue?
Because again, I'm not trying to say that I don't feel sorry for people, especially the ones that suffered because of what happened. I do. And, you know, when I had heard the story, especially in relations to his son, it broke my heart. I'm not gonna lie. Like sometimes thinking about it, it makes me cry because I wonder how would I feel if that was my son.
Okay, so then why are you hesitant to commit on this issue?
Because I don't know the full on, like I said, I don't know the full on law, and I don't know. It's like the old saying, you know, I don't know if I'm going into a gunfight with a knife.
We are. It's a doggy dog world. It's
okay.
That legislature.
So I want
to let me make this easy for you then.
Okay.
Let's say that you read this law, and let's say that your understanding of this law is exactly how we've described it to you. That what we're saying is gospel truth identical to what the law says. Okay? Because I think I understand now where your hesitation comes from is that you haven't actually read the law, and so you want to be sure, and that's fine. But let's just say that you did read the law, and it is exactly how we've explained it to you, that this is what the law is. You did your research, your due diligence. It is what we're telling you. What would your position be? What would you do?
If it's exactly how you're telling me, then I would take a stance to do something about it. Change it, reform it. If we have to get rid of it, whatever the case may be. You know, I understand that the doctors are going to have their arguments, or whoever's on the other side is going to have their arguments. Of course, you know, being fair and being a democracy we have to hear all sides. We do. But nonetheless, you know,
but isn't that the ironic thing, though? What you just said, being a democracy, we have to hear all sides. But the foundation of this arbitration law is it forbids all sides to be heard. Right. It forbids anything to be heard unless you have money.
See, and that's the part where I'm going to address and say, hey, look, you know, why do you have to? First off, why don't we have our own board here in Guam? Why do we have to rely on the U.S.? that's something I want to know. You know, I want to research into and figure out why is that? Because like you say, you know, they have to pay for the doctors from the U.S. to come here for that board and so forth. I want to know why. Why
but
is it?
Does it matter? I mean, shouldn't the first question be why don't people have the right to take these doctors to court?
Right, and that's what I was getting into next is why is it that we have to go through this process of a board or, you know, however the law works. Again, I don't fully understand it, but why do we have to go through all this? You know, as far as I know, if you have a legal problem, you take it to the court, pay your court fees, and you bring up the case to a judge, and the judge from there, you know, depending on what it is, goes from there. You know, I understand that, you know, even with cases in the States with when doctors have done something wrong or whatever the case may be, that they do go get a second opinion from another doctor and so forth. Get it? Understood, tracking. But yeah, I just want to know why can't we just do the way it's been done in the States? I want to look into it and see why is it a certain way or how it's even processed. Because to be honest with you, hearing it from you, it was a little bit confusing for me because I didn't know that you can't just take it to court. Okay. I didn't know about the whole you have to fly people from the States and stuff like that. I didn't know about all that. That's all new for me.
Okay, I'll tell you what. To be completely fair to you and to our viewers, here's what I'm going to offer to you. Why don't you speak with Mr. Lebowski, speak with whoever you need to speak with, review the law and everything, and we're going to invite you back onto the show to talk specifically about this issue. Okay. And see, you know, where your views may be at that time, because I think you owe it to our viewers to give them a firm response. And I see where you're coming from. I do. You haven't read the law. Okay, so let's give you a chance to do that, and then you can come back and talk about it. Let's move on to the next issue. Okay. What's your stance on gambling?
Well, okay, for my own personal perspective, okay, each person is responsible for themselves. Okay. And I do stand with that. Okay. You know, I understand that gambling can be an addiction for people. Okay. But just like with drugs, you know, you have a choice. You can do it or not do it.
Yeah, but drugs are illegal.
I know, but I'm just saying as far as, you know, with gambling becoming an addiction and you get addicted to it, then you're gambling your whole paycheck away. Is it right? No, it's not right. I think it is wrong. And, you know, I do stand and understand where people are coming from with that. But on the same note, I'm a firm believer to each their own. Okay. You decide as an adult what you want to do. You know.
So as far as the law goes, where would you be? Like, what do you want the law to say with regard to gambling?
In regards to gambling, I believe that if the majority of people don't want it, if that's what they just don't want it, then okay.
Voted no a couple times.
Then I accept it. That's fine. Okay. But if all of a sudden they changed it and decided to gamble, then I'm going to say, you know, to each your own. You're responsible for yourself. You know, you're
talking about if there was a referendum where people said casino gambling is legal.
Right. Okay. But again, you know, if the people are against it, I stand where the people stand. Majority rules at the end of the day.
What if the majority of people wanted to legalize meth use?
Now that, I mean, for me personally.
Because you made the comparison between drug addicts and gambling addicts.
Right,
so
right.
This is a fair question.
It's a fair question. No, it is. I mean, first off, I would personally question why we would want to. And again, if I get outnumbered, I mean, you know, with being a senator, I'm 1 out of 15.
You would still vote no?
I would vote no for it because I personally have seen family members get destroyed from it.
So then, same question. How would you vote on a measure to legalize casino gambling?
I guess because it hasn't personally affected me, like, again, with drugs. And I know friends and families have had their lives destroyed by it. It hasn't personally affected me in that matter. So again, I more or less side with the people. If they say, hey, look, we don't want it on the island, we don't even want to go near it, blah, 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 I'm all for it.
No, but if there was a bill in the legislature, how would you vote? on the measure to legalize casino gambling?
As it stands right now, I would stay to no, just because, again, most of the people I talk to, especially when they discuss about gambling, they're against it.
Okay. But I can see you have so your worldview of it is to each his own.
Yeah.
But based on the circumstances of the people's voting a couple times here, you're like, all right, let's stick with what the people have said.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's fair enough. Let's see. You're getting some criticism when people say want you to get to the point sooner about answering questions. I know. It's not.
I know you're nervous too,
Yeah,
but if you've been watching us, you know what we advocate for.
I know.
So it's a dog when you get into that legislature, okay? All of the waving, all of the going around, you have to get in there and you have to fight because there are bullies in there. So you need to stand your ground because we're depending on you.
Are pretty heavy, and like if they,
we need somebody.
If they like push you, you're gonna
topple over. You'll fall over.
Or like if Amanda Shelton sits on you, you'll be just.
I know you're nervous. I know you. But we need you to us as a people, because we're putting you in there. You represent the poor, the poverty. And people who don't have a voice. So we're going to need you to, our bias is towards new candidates. We want, in order to change what's going on in the legislature, what's going on in our government, we need to get new people in there. And in order for that to happen, we need good people, strong people, and people who are going to fight. If I didn't have a if I wasn't a convicted federal felon, because I am, okay, I'm a recovering drug addict, I would be there. I'll be there waving with you guys, going in there, and I'm gonna fight for us. I'm angry. People need to understand what's going on. We are in poverty because of the people before us, and those are the people we elected. A lot of people don't vote because they don't understand. So here we are. The reason why we want you on here, so we can educate our people about who you are. The culture we have, older people do not want us educated because that keeps them in power. That keeps their pockets aligned, and we need to change that. Okay?
I understand.
I invited him to come back when he comes up his position on the MMMA,
of course.
And maybe. I don't want to say that you'll be, because I don't like polished candidates. Polished candidates always freak me out and scare me. But when you come back on our show, just know that direct answers work. And I can tell that the Republican Party has been meeting with you new candidates and has been trying to coach you guys, because I know, based on the answers that you've been giving us today, I recognize some of that terminology and I recognize some of those phrases. And I just want you to know, Dominic, that those people do not have your best interest at heart. They may tell you that, but do not listen to that party.
I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just nervous all around. It's my first run.
No, we understand.
And I can see that too.
And I guess at the end of the day too, just, I guess, being real and out there. That's
what people want.
It's hard to.
When you come back on our show, I want to see and I want to hear the Dominic Hernandez that I first talked to. I want to hear that, and then let's see. And I want to ask our audience to stay tuned to this when Dominic Hernandez comes back on our show to talk about these same issues and more. Because he really is a genuine guy. He really is, and I think this is what happens in elections, and it happens especially in the Republican Party. They try to just.
Troy was a Republican for a very long time.
They try to mold you. They try to mold the things that you say and the answers, and it's very toxic. And I know Republicans who are listening to this in the party are probably cursing me right now for saying this, but I'm not lying to you. I was the party secretary. I went to the Republican National Convention. I worked for Eddie Cavell. I know what I'm talking about. And, maybe you and Sandra should just wave on your own. But, aside from the MMMA stuff, right? Your discussion on political corruption and police corruption, I very much appreciated. Right on the money. That you want to ask questions, that you want people to be transparent and accountable.
Yeah, that's what we need.
I trust you about that, Dominic.
Oh, I mean, for me, like I said, I definitely want transparency. And there's no reason why the government itself can't be transparent. Like we said earlier, why isn't the webpage updated? It should be. And people should have, I want to say easy access to information, but should be able to access it nonetheless and know what's going on, especially if it deals with them personally. And, like I said, as far as this whole thing, I mean, it's been fun, exciting, and different. It's new to me. I mean, this is only my second interview now with ever. The first one, in front of people.
Thank you.
And, and I appreciate the opportunity and everything, but I'm nervous. Just all around,
I get that. I get that.
And
the best way to beat that nervousness is to give direct answers.
Yeah.
Because I can't challenge a direct answer.
Right.
If you told me that my position on gambling is that it should be legal, end of story. It's your position on gambling.
Right.
If you said I will not vote for a repeal of the Medical Malpractice Mandatory Arbitration Act because I agree that we need to protect the interests of doctors, what am I going to say? It's your opinion, So a direct answer always works with the media. It always does.
And with that regards, again, if it's something I don't wholeheartedly know, I don't. And like I said, I need to research it, find out more information, and I'll definitely come back.
Okay.
And after I get, after I become more educated on it, at least then I'll be able to.
What's wrong?
Where's the bag of
questions?
questions?
Okay. This is my questions. It's,
Okay.
Oh. Shake my dog in. The bag, not your dog in, Johnny. Okay. Here. You get to pick one, and then I'll open it. Okay. What is your all-time favorite song?
Bruno Mars, Just the Way You Are.
See, direct answer.
Yeah.
You got it.
Can you sing it?
Sure.
Okay,
go. When I see your face, there's not a thing that I would change, 'cause you're amazing, just the way you are.
That's some karaoke there.
Yeah!
Karaoke there.
Let's have some drinks, baby!
Now, direct answer, Trump or Biden?
I'm for Trump. Not gonna lie.
Okay. All you Biden people, don't hold that against me. So Frank Leon girl last night was like, I'm not for the guy with the red hat. It's like, all you Trump people, don't hold that against him.
Okay, Dom, you have the opportunity into that camera to speak to the people of Guam.
Okay.
Okay, that camera there.
Okay. Well, I'll say this. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm new. I'm inexperienced, especially when it comes to politics. But I'm more than willing to learn, overcome, and adapt. And if I have to, give blood, sweat, and tears to be able to achieve the goals and get what needs to be done, especially for the people. I'm not going to have all the answers. And fact is, I'm never going to know all the answers. But I'm more than willing to learn. I'm open to discussions. I've even said it on my Facebook that if you see me in person, don't feel bad that you want to stop me and talk to me about something, please. Because I want to know, because the best way for us as an island to move forward and make the changes and differences we all need is we have to all come together, speak to one another, hear the different sides, hear the different stories, and come up with solutions together. Because that's just how it's going to get done. I don't have all the answers, and I never will. But if we work together, we can come up with the answers together. And I believe in that, and I believe that's how we can make the change and difference, especially what we need for our island.
Okay, you have to ask them to vote for you.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Sorry. I'm Dominic Hernandez, and I'm running as a Republican candidate. And I ask for your vote this election. And I also, like I say on my Facebook, vote for who you think in your heart is the best selection that'd be able to look out for your best interest.
Dominic Hernandez is number 1 on the ballot.
Well, you
Yes.
chose number 1 on the ballot?
I got lucky and chose number 1.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you, and thank you for being honest with us about what you knew and what you didn't know, and for agreeing to come back on the show after you learn more about some of those issues.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Did we have breaking news from the congressman, or we're going to do that?
We'll go back on about
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. Have a great day,
Oh
guys.
shoot! Sorry. For Kandit News, I'm Troy Torres.
And I'm Johnny Rosario.